This session is being recorded, and I'm so pleased to introduce our 4 presenters. We have Dr. Naomi Martakuman, who is the Director of Faculty Development for the MCC Curriculum and Instruction team, and she coordinates programs and services for the Language and Literacy Center. Previously, she taught ESL at MCC for 10 years, and as success navigators, Anna Summers, Veronica Castro, and Stacy Mapp serve many students who on maybe transition adult education to credit classes at MCC. All 4 presenters are passionate guiding students different language backgrounds to meet and exceed their educational and goals. So with that, I will turn it over to the presenters, and I will also mention that if you have any technical challenges, you can send a direct message to Nina. All right, ladies, welcome. Please take it away.
Okay, thank you so much, Naomi. My name is Stacy Mapp, and today we're going to have the privilege of talking to you about supporting our ELL community through collaboration. Our objective today is to understand the challenges and barriers our ELL community colleges face to improve their language competencies, gain employment, or even prepare college level classes. We're also going to explore academic, personal, and social support for our ELL students at the community college class level and the need for them to persist in this support. And then the value of collaboration and the use of appreciative advising strategy to improve retention. So we're going to start off by defining what ELL means. We're also going to talk about the challenges faced by our ELL population, the social, personal, and academic support that we here at MCC provide our ELL students, the outcomes from intervention and collaboration, and then lastly, we're going to talk about the future plans we have. So by definition, ELL refers to our English language learners. Now, definition is simple. This population, our ELL population, is so diverse as it has many different native language backgrounds, and this population comes from many different states. So even when we're considering the educational experiences of our ELL population, it varies across the country as states and schools even differ in how they identify their ELL population and even how they teach the ELL students. So at MCC, what does that look like? We have international students. So in 2016, 2017, the Institute of International Education have read that more than 1 million international students had enrolled in U.S. colleges and universities. Now, although most of the international students coming to the United States had prior education preparation, many come to the United States to obtain a degree, but also to learn English. So we also consider then our recent immigrants. Many of our recent immigrants to the United States, they have a wide variety of education backgrounds, professional experiences, linguistic backgrounds, but 41% of the recent adult immigration population was coming to the United States and they already had bachelor degrees or higher. There was that 23% that didn't even have the high school equivalency, high school completion. So when we think about that, what does that look like? If we have an ESL classroom and you have highly educated with undereducated students, then you have an ESL instructor who's tasked with simultaneously teaching this diverse group of population. It kind of poses some challenges there. Then that moves us to our Generation 1.5 students. And as it states here, these are students attended U.S. secondary education schools. They were born outside of the U.S., but this also includes our dreamers who were brought when years, but they don't have a legal status here. So when we're considering our Generation 1.5 students, these students experience different educational disparities. One, they may have attended an under-resourced school in comparison to their U.S. peers, or two, they have received insufficient academic instructional support. And then lastly, we have our long-term residents. Next slide, please. Thank you. So when we're considering our ELL population, the figure that you're seeing right here is taken from the National Center for Education in fall of 2018. Now, this is a percent of public school students, English language learners. And when you take a look at your particular state or even the state, you can see there's about 10.2%, or that's million students who reported that they're English language learners. So that means that if we think about it, most of these students will have some type of desire at some point to attain a college degree. And sometimes that college degree pathway is through the community college. So that really does show the need for us to have that structural support in place for our ELL population. Here too, taken from NCES in 2018, is the U.S. public school students and how they reported the languages spoke at home. So these are just the top 10 languages that the students reported at. So let's consider what the home language, that means that they're multilingual at home. So these can be students who may have been adopted over to United States. So they know English, but their primary language in a different language. And here, the most common reported, it's about roughly 77% here of the students that reported that the primary language spoken at home is Spanish. So with that being said, I don't know about you, it made me really think about maybe I should have focused a little bit more on my Spanish when I was in high school. But this again just shows that all of our population that's coming over, they do have a tremendous need for a wraparound service. So some of the challenges that our students face, and as you're going through this, you may notice other challenges that you presented with, and we'll love to discuss that definitely at the end. But some of the top challenges that we talked about here is really that single assessment. Right now, there is no single assessment that's in place that can identify ELLs at colleges or university levels. The assessments that we have right now do not fully measure our ELL's knowledge, abilities, and skills that they're bringing in with them. So even when we consider the application process doesn't really ask the student to provide this information. It may ask them, are they ELL? But the stigma that comes behind saying, yes, I'm ELL, some students choose not to self-identify. So again, making it a challenge for us to be able to provide the necessary services and resources for them. In addition to that, understanding the best practices. To date, there isn't a large scale research on how to better service our ELL population, or there's a lack of that systematic approach of how to best serve our ELL population. So from the data, we can clearly see that it becomes very clear that it's important for us to have that proper structural support for our ELL population. Next, we will listen to Ms. Anya Summers talk to us about supporting ELL at MCC.
All righty, thank you so much, Stacy. So I will be covering, starting the part of supporting ELL students at MCC And before we get started, I just want to clarify a couple of terms on this next slide here. So we work with students on the credit ESL side, and those courses prepare students for success at the college level. So in level 1 of the credit ESL courses, students are already learning things like simple and compound sentences, paraphrasing, summarizing. The non-credit free ESL classes are beginning level courses, and they teach basic and survival English, such as learning the vocabulary of going to a store or a bank. So that's the important difference between the two paths. So on the onboarding process with the students, the first meeting is really important because that's when we build rapport with the student and we really get to know what their goals are. Knowing their goals will determine which path we'll recommend, credit or non-credit, listed on here. So if a student is a new English language learner, just starting to learn English, or if a student's primary goal is to learn basic English, such as interactions at a bank or at work, then we'll recommend non-credit free courses. But if a student's goal is to take courses like CNA eventually, or obtain their CDL, or complete a program of study, then we'll discuss the credit ESL process. However, there are some students who may want to start credit ESL, but their current English proficiency may not be at that level yet. And in those situations, here are some things we look for. So one, if a student is having a difficult time finding words or putting sentences together and expressing what their goals are. Two, if a student is only responding with 1 or 2 word replies, which makes it difficult for us to gauge their level of comprehension, or if a student is has an interpreter assisting throughout the conversation. So in those 3 scenarios, we have students take this quick assessment of primary English skills. And this was given to us by our testing center. And we just have the student read the paragraph out loud and answer the questions. And if the student reads and answers all or most of the questions correctly, then we'll recommend the credit ESL placement test. But if a student really struggles pronouncing quite a few words in that paragraph and gets most of the questions wrong, then we would recommend the student to first build on the basic English skills in non-credit. So as a side note, it's really important to encourage students throughout the conversation by letting them know that they're doing a great job and that their English is great, because that builds their confidence, it reduces their anxiety overall, and allows them to open up more. So for the credit side, the next step is listed right here. It says the ESL placement test. So with the students, we discuss the placement test, how to get that scheduled, and we schedule a follow-up appointment to discuss the results. And on the follow-up appointment, we discuss the results with them and which courses they place into. So this is an image of our curriculum right here. And with the student, we plan out which classes they will start with and how many they will have left and how long that will take. And we'll also let the students know that on the first day of each course, they do get a second test to make sure that each class that they're in is exactly their current level. So if they score high enough on the first week of classes, it is possible to jump from, say, level 2 of grammar to level 3. So that's really encouraging for some students, especially for those that were hoping to score a little bit higher. There is that possibility in that first week. So once the students are registered for classes, here's the academic support that we provide for them. And I will go into detail about each of these in the upcoming slides, but we assist with pre-class support for the students. We also have faculty outreach throughout the quarter. We have a pre-census check-in after the first week and a half of classes with students. We also visit the classrooms. We visit all ESL courses, and then a connection with Language and Literacy Center. So for the pre-class support, that usually is about several follow-up appointments because we cover quite a bit of information in there. So our goal is to do one-on-one orientations with students, especially those that test into levels 1 and 2. And we do that because there's a lot of new terminology that the students come across, and we can go at a pace that's more comfortable for them, and we can answer questions as they come up. We also assist with technical support because some students are not familiar with how to use a computer and would like a refresher. So we help them with things like using Zoom, creating their MyWay account for their information and for Canvas. So we walk through the password setup and everything step by step with the students. And we also assist navigating financial aid for updates. And we help them connect with their financial aid representative by email. So we help with the drafting an email if they need assistance with that, and with bookstore process as well. We assist them step by step of buying books online. And then on to faculty navigator outreach on there. So as the classes start, we communicate with the instructors. So the first week, once the students take the test, there could be a lot of movement from one class level to another. So it's very time sensitive, and we make sure to communicate with the instructors to get the students in the appropriate classes if they test it out. We also coordinate classroom visits with the faculty as well every quarter for a time that works best for both of us. And then we address student concerns as they come up with the instructors, the students, or have a three-way conversation. And we provide faculty surveys as well to see how we're doing and what we can improve. And then we connect with the students after the first week and a half to make sure that the classes are still going well and that they still work with their schedule and that they'll still be able to attend the classes the rest of the quarter. And we check in with them about their financial aid if they have any questions in that part. And then for week 3, we also do a visit for all the classes. So we come in and connect with the students that way, especially for those students that we might have missed. Maybe some students registered late. So this is a really good time for us to connect with all the students in the classes. We discuss all of the services we provide for students once again, and we encourage them to make appointments with us. We also provide an ESL survey for students to let us know how we're doing and what we can improve. And then in week 8, we do classroom visits for level 3 and 4 of ESL. And those students are almost done with the ESL courses. So that is a perfect time for them to start exploring careers. And we really enjoy meeting with students and walking through that process together, exploring what interests they have, how long it would take to get a certain degree, what the salary would be like. And then we do educational planning. So once we find out, what their program of study is that they're interested in, we plan that out together with them so they can know how long that will be until they are done. And we also assist with registration reminders as well for students to register early. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Naomi Martakuman, Uman, to present the next section.
Thank you. Well, I'm really happy to have a little role in this presentation with my colleagues from Student Services because collaboration really is at the heart of what the Language and Literacy Center is trying to do, both with the success navigators and advisors in Student Services and with ESL faculty in academic affairs. So what we try to do is kind of bridge some of those divides. So I want to talk a little bit about our goals, but first let me tell you that the picture you see here, this lovely furniture, was given to us as part of a private donation when we opened our doors in 2018. So we're really glad to have the support of the community as well, and that's where that great looking room comes from. Like I said, we started in 2018. I was an ESL faculty member at that time. I moved out of that position recently, but I have retained some coordinator duties for the Language and Literacy Center. So I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about our goals, because I think it's in those goals that you can see where if we don't collaborate with our colleagues in student services and our colleagues in the faculty, that we cannot possibly achieve our goals. So that's opportunities for collaboration and absolutely duties and responsibilities to collaborate. So we provide students who are learning English with language support and some academic coaching. We collaborate with college faculty to integrate English language learner support into general education and program area content. So we do consultations, do workshops, things like that. We run programs to encourage interactions among English learners and their peers, and with faculty and with staff. We want to improve student engagement, learning, and persistence. These are, really high goals, and we're not there yet, but this is where we're heading. We collaborate with student services to facilitate the transitions of English language learners from high school to non-credit to credit, and then into developmental coursework, and then eventually college level coursework and career or transfer programs. So I see the Language and Literacy Center as being able to play a key role in those transitions. And then because we work so closely with faculty, ESL faculty who have so much expertise about language learning, then we can take that expertise out to the faculty in general and increase awareness of what it's like to develop bilingual skills and to be multilingual. And what can faculty do? What instructional techniques can faculty use that can support the learning for students who are in the process of developing academic proficiency in English? And usually those techniques work for everybody, right? They're useful for everybody. Next slide, please. So in order to achieve these goals, the Language and Literacy Center offers a number of different services. Of course, we provide ESL support and reading assistance to MCC students. ESL services are available to students at any level, whether they're in the ESL program or taking gen ed or program area courses. We've expanded a little bit and offer reading assistance to any student at MCC, so not just language learners, but any student. And then again, of course, we consult with faculty on that language acquisition. So we do grammar, reading, writing, listening, vocabulary, presentations, conversations, pronunciation help, study skills, homework, test preparation. We talk about reading textbooks and reading research articles, how to understand your homework assignment. And then I think we do some support of what the success navigators talk about in terms of college success skills, right? How do you navigate the systems? What kinds of skills are needed for online and remote skills? So we have different activities you can see here that we do with students. You can go to the next slide here. And that's some of the things that we do with the success navigators, with International Student Office, with Naomi Martakuman, and then with faculty. So we ask our ESL faculty to come in and give presentations and workshops as well. So that collaboration really comes from both sides. You might note, if you're from MCC, you might note that our services and our population overlap at some points with those of other academic support services, like the Learning and Tutoring Center, like the Writing Center. But I think the distinction is the expertise of our staff. The Language and Literacy Center specialists who work with us, they all have master's degrees in reading or in ESL, and experience teaching English as a second language or a foreign language. And so what we do is just strive to maintain really good relationships with colleagues in both the Writing Center and the Language and the Learning and Tutoring Center, so that we can work together to address student needs in the way that's most helpful for the student, wherever they might be. So sometimes we refer to them and they refer to us. And I think that's really key, that we maintain good relationships. It's not about being territorial, right? Those are my students and I want to help them. We really value any opportunity to collaborate with our colleagues in student services and in academic affairs, because it's only through those collaborations and connections that we can weave the support system that we're trying to weave for our students, and that they hopefully can come to rely on. So thank you.
So our COVID-related challenges that we faced as with many other colleges facing COVID-related situations, well, we noticed that even before the pandemic, many of our English language learners, they did struggle with even participating equally in the classroom with trying to learn the grade level content plus learning English at the same time. And then you add in the abrupt shift of now having to do all of that at home. So um, we just listed again just some of the top COVID related challenges for our ELL students that we noticed. One being immigration law, and it really kind of depends on the current administration. The immigration law can be for or not so much for our ELL population, but we noticed that that did take a big toll on our ELL population. In addition to technology, some things that we've seen as very basic: uploading, downloading, minimizing, maximizing, dragging and dropping. These are things we do on a regular basis without even a second thought. Now we give these skills, or try to give these skills to our ELL students immediately, because now we're all having to come home. And then there's the abrupt stop of now persisting or progressing in the classroom. We also had faced class cancellations due to low or no enrollment. So we did have our faculty get creative, where you have level content in level 1 and level 2 may share a similar book. So if you had 2 students in level 1, but then you had 3 students in level 2, now we have a combined class. So that way we can keep the students who wanted to persist the best of our ability to keep them with classes. Also, there was the challenges of financial aid. Before the pandemic, you had MCC being one of FAFSA Live. Students can get that face-to-face, one-on-one, and that may be the preferred method for our ELL student to come face-to-face, talk to you, see what you're telling us, show how to upload. Now all of that is gone. So all the resources that you used to have to assist you with completing a financial aid application, teaching you how to get the information from the IRS's website and bring it over to MCC, pretty much stopped. And now that posed a challenge. When you think about the learning spaces, our ELL population, they went from an amazing brick and mortar MCC. We had the structure for you. Now we had students on their cell phones, in their car, trying to participate in class, or in a very crowded home with children. So the opportunity to quietly learn and be able to understand the English language, became sometimes impossible for some of our students. And then, not to even mention the physical and mental well-being. Students were still having to work outside the home, the fear of bringing back the COVID-19 to the home, having to take care of loved ones, maybe now elderly parents, in addition to children. And then the overall, just what's next, what's going to happen, and trying to focus on all of those things in addition to learning English really made it difficult for full participation in that remote learning style that we offered. So some of the enrollment that you'll see here, just to give you a little context why we chose the fall quarter. For MCC, fall traditionally is the peak season. A lot of students rush in to take classes. So we gathered content or data from the enrollment fall of 2017 through fall of 19. You can see that we pretty much stayed consistent. We had students coming in the 200s for ESL enrollment. Now, fast forward to fall of 2020, that tremendously dropped. Still students are coming, but nothing in comparison to what we were accustomed to seeing. Next slide, please. So then when we look at our course pass rate, again, highlighting the fall quarter as being our peak season, you can see that from our pass, fail, retake, and retake, meaning you did good in the class, but there's still opportunity to fine-tune the skill. So you should retake the course in order to persist on to the next level. And the withdrawal. But As you can see, even each quarter we did great in our pass rate, but I am so excited because looking at that fall quarter, although we had the lowest amount of attendees, we only had one student fail that quarter, so that 91% pass rate. And that is huge for dealing with so many different moving parts and still being able to persist. And then here, another one of our successes when we're looking from fall to winter is looking at the students. Well, you attended fall, you did great. Well, are you coming back? Well, as you can see, our normal range is 65, 68% fall to winter of 17, 18, and 19. But then you look at the fall, we still have students saying, despite all obstacles, I'm moving forward. And there is a 70% persistent rate here. So now we're going to talk to Veronica, and she is going to talk to us about zooming in on the future.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Naomi and Anna as well. So now we're just going to talk a little bit about, some of our aha moments that we did experience with COVID and the challenges, and some of the things that, that we need to focus on and really, is creating a community of care. And so what I mean by that is, just encouraging our students and letting them know that things are safe, our policies, talk to them about, our policies on campus or, our accountability office, COVID resources we offer, showing grace, just simple things like that, just, creating that community of care. And I was talking to Stacy earlier, she gave a great example how, with everybody coming back, we have an instructor who, she's still wearing a mask, she's living at home with parents or her elderly parents. And so other, students, just to be respectful and showing care, are doing the same. So things like that, just giving reassurance and being here for our students. And so another thing is also what we didn't realize and what I didn't know much about, and I was talking to Stacey and Anna, is also, if you teach a person how to fish. So we're having some of our ELL students also saying, we learned how to use Zoom. It's convenient because of transportation, childcare, and now they want to continue on with the same, they want to continue with Zoom classes. They want to learn from home because they have their kids in the next room that, it's convenient. So that could be an opportunity for us to maybe look at that more and discuss and maybe offer hybrid classes or offer, in the future, look at those opportunities, which I haven't experienced any ELL students, but I know Stacy and Anna work with a lot more than I do. And some of the students that I work with want to come back, but I can see how it's convenient for a lot of students, with their kids or they're farther, because South Campus is the only campus that offers ELL classes. So I could see how that is something they want to continue with. And then also another thing is collaborating with financial aid in new ways. We all know that financial aid has processes, has forms to complete, different things. But with COVID going on, we help students through the financial aid process. But what was realized and what we saw is that there are a lot of students in high schools that were getting help, maybe from their high school counselor, maybe from Education Quest, maybe from other agencies. And so when COVID happened, or when the pandemic, a lot of things closed down. And so a lot of students were needing so much assistance, and already financial aid is, as we all know, is one of those things that is difficult as it is going through that process. So this just shows us that we need to collaborate in new ways for our students, whether it be offering, FAFSA Live for ELL learners, or offering workshops, or thinking, this is a time that we need to really think how to better serve our students to help them be successful. So that could be something, that we're going to be discussing more and working with. Next thing is community resources to build on existing jobs. So, you know, we are community college, so we do a lot of community things, and we also focus on community resources. But with this, we realize that we need to really be informed on what is out there for our students, ELL population. One of the things that I just recently learned about is Career Ladder. And so Career Ladder is a resource that works with students that already have an existing degree in their country, and connects them with whether it be networking or mentoring or job opportunities. And that's just one resource. There's tons. There's, you know, Latino Center of the Midlands, there's Lutheran Family Services. There's so many resources in our community. So I think this just shows we need to work with them, and we need to offer and be informed on those resources, and, you know, offer them to our students and let them know what is out there, and connect them as well. Next slide. And so this is really what I get really excited about, and Stacey and Anna were talking about this, and so this is something that we really are going to focus on a lot, is our future plans. Being more visible in the classroom. Right now, we have a setup where, you know, we do one-on-one with students. We have, you know, one-on-one appointments, but students at Metro start so many different ways. There's so many different ways that they get started. So not everybody comes through an ELL navigator. So being visible in the classrooms and visiting every classroom is a way to capture and make those connections and build those relationships. So focusing on being in every classroom at some point and really working with students in real time, addressing questions, issues, setting up appointments to really work with those students and help them build whatever, you know, goals they have, whether it be being, you know, employed or we're looking for jobs, career exploration. So being more visible in the classroom is something that we're going to really focus on. The next one is ELL specific scholarships. And again, this is something that already we have been discussing. You know, we've connected with scholarships. We have so many different scholarships for so many different areas, for so many different students. So this should be something that this is something we are going to focus on. This is a big barrier for a lot of our students, because even before they can start the program of study, they need to go through that ELL program. So that is obviously is going to cost money. Most of our students have to work, have families. So this will be very focused. I think it's going to help with retention. So offering scholarships for our students is something that we will focus on. An ELL club. Also, again, Stacey and I and Anya were talking about this. We're excited about offering an ELL club, partnering possibly with, you know, partnering with the Language and Literacy Center as a location for our ELL club. And we came about this, a lot of our high schools in the area already have, you know, created ESL clubs or ESL college clubs, Thrive clubs. So working with them, possibly partnering, taking some of those students also that are choosing MCC as their post-secondary education and working with them to create that here, being leaders, possibly, you know, offering social opportunities, you know, mentoring, leadership opportunities will help with retention, will help with a sense of belonging, will help with giving our students a place to come to, meet with. So that's something also in our future plans at ELL Club to help with our ELL population. And then partnerships. We partner, as you know, we're a community college, so we have tons of partnerships in the community, but you know, Enrollment does a lot of partnerships as well. And so one of the things is this specific partnership is with JPS and working with their employers or their employees to start at MCC. So taking the opportunity to really work on those partnerships and help those students, onboard them, explain what we offer, meeting them at their need, you know, where they are need, what they need, answering those questions, focusing navigators on that. So that's also something that's we're already working on and will continue. High school connections. This is something that I love to do, and we are going to continue to do this with Stacy and Anna, is going to the high schools and meeting with them. Enrollment does this. However, what I mean by high school connections is, visiting those college clubs, making appointments there, making, maybe doing appointments there, completing those appointments, getting them registered. So strengthening those high school connections to have a better transition for our ELL students, meeting them where they're at, bringing them on campus. So strengthening that with our area high schools is going to be something that we will continue to work on as well. Adult education, ESL, and e-credit ESL classes. So we already, Stacy and Anya go into adult education classes, the ESL, explain what our program is, how it works, just because I know a lot of the times, a lot of students are confused with adult education ESL versus credit ESL. So going there, working with those students, explaining helping them through that transition will be something that we do as well. And then lastly, community engagement. I love community, so we're going to focus on that as well, is strengthening partnerships in the community, just like with JBS, that employment, but other areas too. One example is, we work with Lindsay in workforce innovation, and they do a lot of different trainings for different agencies, different companies. And so one of the things that she does is does training for like the South Omaha learning community, their parents, their ELL parents. And so taking that opportunity to meet with them and having that transition over to ESL credit classes to help them with eventually, studying a career, going into a program, a certificate, training, but taking that opportunity to work with students, with the community. And I think that is all that we have for future plans. We're very excited about going through, our ELL population. I know that it was very difficult during COVID and the pandemic, and working with students. And I am just so thankful to work with the advisors that I work with, and the EL, the Language and Literacy Center, and Stacy and Anna are amazing. So thank you for your work, and thank you for coming to our session. I don't know if Stacy or anybody else wants to say anything to close.
I think there are some questions in the chat.
Oh, okay. Let me go back.
Okay, this is Naomi here. I was answering a few of them in the chat as well. And just doing a little time check, we have about 15 minutes left. But I would like to say that your presentation gives a lot of hope. It talks about a lot of the challenges that's our 15-minute alarm, okay, that our students face. So do we have any plans working with ELL parents to help them understand the resources, processes, and support available?
Parents, like it's parents of ELL students, or just Spanish-speaking parents? I think when all of us, when we meet with students, I mean, here at South Campus, I'm bilingual. I'm the Success Navigator that's bilingual. Ana speaks a little Spanish. We have Gloriela, she's an advisor. So I always welcome parents into our meetings, and I always call parents back and explain processes. But I've also encouraged to have like Spanish sessions for our parents. So I hope that could be something that we now that with COVID over, I can see us having that conversation of offering some Spanish speaking or some Spanish sessions of orientation with resources, process, support. Yeah, I think that could be something we do.
Okay, and another question is, how do the for credit ESL classes fit into curriculum? Are they electives, required courses?
The
They're
So I-
developmental credit. They're basically developmental classes that transition into the regular English. I don't like saying regular English, but the non-ESL English.
Mhm. Yes, they're credited, they're developmental credited courses.
And
So
the
they don't
beautiful
count-
thing,
So they
sorry.
wouldn't count, I'm sorry, so they would not count for a program of study.
Right, that was more my question, sorry, was do they count toward a program of study? And if not, how does that fit in with, if it's a financial aid eligible student, how would that fit in to like course applicability and all that fun stuff that FAFSA cares about?
yes, so you are bringing up a very good point, because there is always a max time that a student has to attain a degree. So if a student is using ESL, there is a possibility that they could run into max time, but we have something in place for that also with our wonderful financial aid department that monitors the student and their progression to make sure that if they do come across running out of the allotment of time to finish their degree because they had to go through the developmental courses, that they're allotted or either given a scholarship or something to allow them to finish their degree. We don't want them to get, any student for that matter, to get close to the end, and because you had to take developmental courses, you do not get a degree. That would be terrible. So we do have different things in place to make sure that they get to that finish line.
Awesome, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I just want to say this information was awesome. I work for a Hispanic serving institution, so this was great because right now, all we have for those type of classes is either non-credit. So we have a bunch of non-credit classes that an ELL student can take. But the only 4 credit classes we have are a version of English 101 and 102 that is specifically for non-native English speakers. So that's really it.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much.
This is Nina. I also wanted to just say a few things because I know these 4 or 5 I've lost track of counting now, but all the presenters, they don't like to toot their horn, but I also would like to say I toot it for them. They're just amazing individuals. I think that we're blessed to have this team here. And also I think a lot of our staff here work in the community. Like Veronica does a lot of work in the community for the Hispanic population. So I think building, and somebody asked that question as well, like building connections around community is going to be super important as we come back. And I think that's what she was alluding to as well. And so just not the community within the campus, but also extending beyond our walls to create that culture of care that she was talking about. And they do a fantastic job in that. But also, as Stacy pointed out, some of the policies that are, some things are beyond our scope, right? We can try to impact what we can within our means. And I think you guys did a great job that we were able to still be able to get so much success out of the students that we did have.
Another question popped up. At this point in time, what can we do to help our ELL community?
I think just continue to push the resources we offer, encourage and be there for and answer their questions. We're here for them. So, and be informed of other resources to help them as well, I think is going to be really important and key.
And then also being more visible. We are an industry, we are a community of advertisement. Everything that we see, we buy the next pair of shoes, our next meal based on advertising. we have to advertise how amazing MCC really is and the supports that we have for our ESL population. So if we're talking about right now, that would be, if I can put a bulletin board together and just go straight outside and talk about the services we have to bring our students in so that they can just see, I think that would be a great way of helping the community.
A variety of fantastic presentation, comments coming in, thank yous. Yeah, we have a few minutes more if anybody has other comments or questions from the audience. I know it takes a moment to type in. Well, I will say I have always enjoyed working with all of you. I've seen over the years as the ESL, ELL support and the academic side have grown, developed, and supporting so many of our students, not just the F1 population that I work with, but the Language and Literacy Center is just a gem at MCC, and it needs to keep shining and shining so other students can see the resources, because it doesn't just stop at English as a second language courses. It is beyond that. It is helping students with other subject areas as they're continuing to develop their language, their English language skills. So it's a partnership with student affairs and academic affairs, and then reaching out to the writing center, the tutoring center. And I just applaud all of the work that this team and others who aren't present here have done. Okay, I don't see any more questions coming in, so I would like to thank all of the audience members for joining in, tuning in, participating. I wish you all a wonderful evening, and we will start tomorrow at 8:30 with the keynote by Dr. Larry Abel, and we will continue with a variety of sessions. Have a good evening.